So this morning, our children have begun their religious education journeys for the year. Some of them are focusing on health, safety, and sexuality in the Our Whole Lives classes. Some are focusing on identities and belief in the Moral Tales class or in the Coming of Age class. And this afternoon, we begin our adult offering courses for the fall that include an exploration of spiritual practice and a delving back into our own religious pasts. I suspect that some of you, and you can raise your hand if this is true for you, experienced religious education as children like this. Here's the truth, learn it, know it, and you never need anything more. Anyone? Great. For a long time, that was how it worked. Even in what would have been called liberal circles, for a long time, the idea that a child was a vessel to fill up with knowledge and beliefs, and once we had instilled in them the right thing, the truth, it was all done, and they would be moral and religious fixed adults. Unitarian Universalism believes something different. 21st century Unitarian Universalists believe that all humans are developing, growing, changing throughout our lives in all sorts of ways. We're never done. Our identity changes and grows, our families shift and realign, our friendships, our knowledge, our beliefs, our understandings. We are never done growing, and our very fundamental work is to be open to the changes that might come in our lives. The mission statement of the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood actually begins growing in mind and spirit. It encapsulates this idea that whether we are 8 or 48 or 88, we can still learn and develop. Unitarian Universalism in the 21st century says each of us is part of many circles, the vast human family, our own families, our friend groups, our congregations. And while we are at every moment of our lives enough, wonderful, beautiful, we are also always changing, always becoming, entering new circles, leaving others, entering new phases of our lives, leaving others. We are not stagnant or static or fixed. For much of the 20th century, the religious education landscape of progressive liberal denominations was dominated by a woman named Sophia Lyon-Fahs. Has anyone heard of her? It's gonna be like a little, okay, some of you. As one biographer puts it, for more than 80 years as a professional educator, practical theologian, and author, Fahs strove to create a theology that restored human emotions and human experience to their rightful place as foundational building blocks for an enlightened liberal faith. It actually wasn't until Fahs was 68 that she joined a Unitarian church, and she was 82 when she was ordained by the UU congregation in Bethesda, Maryland, and that was in 1959. Fahs, while a product of her time and a bit essentializing in her depiction of complicated stories, was indeed a giant in the revolution of religious education that effected the turn from a didactic approach that taught children what they should believe to a holistic approach that embraced the idea that all of us, at every age and stage, are spiritual beings with lives unfolding. And as you heard from the reading that Laura did this morning, Fahs was following that legacy, following the footsteps of 19th century Unitarian theologian William Ellery Channing, often called the father of American Unitarianism, when he wrote about the great end of religious education. Fahs pushed this idea even further, this idea that as children we are spiritual beings, open to the world, able to experience deep and real moments of religious, spiritual transport. She declared that children were naturally spiritual and open, curious about the workings of the world. In her book, Worshipping Together with Questioning Minds, she writes of a time when she witnessed the magic of community and open spiritual inquiry. She writes, "As long as I live, I do not expect to forget that morning during one of our junior department services of worship when I had vivid evidence that some of the children, at least, felt an exhilaration in their realization of being linked with the ages. We had been discussing how old we were and when we really began. We traveled in imagination, step by step, back from our own birthdays to the time of our conception, then on to our parents' birthdays and our grandparents and our great-grandparents, and so on and on. We decided finally that something now within our bodies must have been living hundreds, thousands, millions of years ago. We could never get back to our own beginnings. We must then all be very, very, very old, or at least something within us must be billions of years old. A meditative, experiential, imaginative exploration into the nature of humanity led to what she calls a moment of joyful exhilaration, and she goes on to say, "The experience was a thrilling one for me, but I had not expected to find it had been even more thrilling to some of the children. I learned later that after the service was over, a group of boys in one class ran down the stairs to their classroom in order to greet their teacher with the gleeful declaration, 'Hurrah, we are as old as you, we are as old as you.' Such experiences," she writes, "may not come often, yet they are beyond price when they are experienced." Children and adults alike can experience moments of connection across time and space, across religion and science, and these moments are formative. In 1960, Faz gave a lecture titled, "Why Teach Religion in an Age of Science?" It's a question I have been asked many times, one that we still hear in Unitarian Universalist congregations today. Faz's answer was that, of course, first of all, it largely depends on what you mean by teach religion. She said, quote, "From our point of view, the educational process in an age of science should no longer be regarded as the transmission of one faith in order to seek commitment to it. We are assuming an open-ended education in religious thinking and living, which makes room for intelligent change in response to new knowledge and new insights." So that's the core, right? That is the core of what we're talking about. She is saying that we're not filling up a vessel. We are encouraging a mind of inquiry. Faz grounds all of that in her understanding of how humanity actually works. All of us humans share, she claims, what she calls 5 basic impulses. And I'm going to paraphrase these here. You can read the whole lecture online if you'd like to. She says, first, humans have a desire to live and to keep alive. Second, humans have a desire to explore what is unknown to us. And this I am going to quote because it's so poetic. She says, "We have a need to peer through the seen into the unseen, to delve into the mysteries of existence." Third, she says, we need to avoid the desperation of loneliness, and we do so by seeking out friendly companionship. 4, for our own sanity and for the good of human interaction, we have a need to organize life and society. And finally, the 5th, she says, is that we need a way to create a vision of our better possible selves, perhaps through contact with some other being, real or imagined, a hero that embodies the vision of who we want to become. These impulses, which she argues led to the development of religion as a whole category, are still present in us. But the religions of the past are not able to satisfy those impulses because they too often stand in contraindication to our scientific gains and 21st century knowledge. As a result, people have drawn a too hard line between religion and science as if they were mutually exclusive. She says, additionally, many religions have done a disservice to people by the way they've raised them. We recognize this, right? We know that many religions have rejected families or individuals because of who they are and who they love. And as a result, many have then, in turn, rejected religion. But Faz would have us understand that religion and science go together. They are part and parcel of each other, and that it is together that they help us fulfill those human impulses for knowledge and meaning, for connection and completeness. That together, at least when religion is, as she puts it, intellectually sound and emotionally satisfying, when religion is that, religion and science together can create humans that are moral, thoughtful, compassionate, with depth and empathy, who understand the world as it is in this moment. She concludes her essay by telling us what it means to educate children, and I would say all of us, not just children, in religion. Some of what she suggests, we in Unitarian Universalism have really done. We have integrated science. We've been unafraid to bring it inside of our sanctuary walls. We've been unafraid to see the lines that link both the hard and the social sciences to religious life and deep meaning. But she has some other suggestions that I think are as applicable now as they were then, if not even more so. She says that we need to not lose sight of the originating and still present impulse for religious experience. So we can't swing so far to the side of science that we forget mystery and wonder and curiosity. We have to allow children and adults alike to explore questions about the unknown, about death, about living, about the possibility of God or no God, questions about who we want to be and what it means to love. We have to allow all of that with openness and curiosity and a willingness to come to new understanding and to change. All of us, no matter how old we are. She says we need to stop drawing lines between us for religious reasons or any other. We have to understand, as she puts it, and this is a quote, "The world we know now is one. The universe is one. Humankind is one family. We even belong in the family of atoms and stars. Reality can no longer be divided into clear-cut contraries, the material and the spiritual, the animate and the inanimate, the temporal and the eternal, the body and mind, good and evil, today and tomorrow, the secular and religious, even the creator and the created. The dividing walls are down. All things are blended and interdependent." I love that paragraph. The great end, then, in religious education for children, youth, and adults is to create humans capable of embracing the moment of existence that they find themselves in, without walls, without division, facing that moment not with fear, but with compassion and courage. Achieving that great end is part of the work of this community, not only within these walls, but out in the world, bringing a vision of what it is to be human to everything that we do. I think, by definition, this community has to be actively engaged in the work of education and intentionally engaged in multi-generational community building. I'm not telling you anything you don't know to say that our world can be extremely segregated, including by age, and that right now, after years of increased separation and isolation, we have to work even harder to break down all of those walls. I have to say, I would sort of be remiss if I did not say this in a service like this morning's. The reality is that all of us, grown-ups and children and youth alike, have suffered these past years. Suffered isolation, suffered an increase in anxiety, in fear, suffered from time apart that would help us build up those muscles to face the world. I can tell you anecdotally from friends and family that children and youth continue, even though the pandemic is over, continue to be struggling, continue to be suffering. For all the things that we experienced as adults, the effects of isolation, children had far less reserves to build on, right? To get them through and make it to the other side of that. And I really have been sitting with that Mrs. Nelson poem and with that Whitney Houston song that got me like right here this morning. Both of those remind us that we have a duty of care, and that's a duty to teach our children more than just math facts and vocabulary, right? It's a duty of care to teach them how to live, how to trust, how to take risks, how to feel their fear and still move forward. It's a duty to teach them how to love, right? Themselves and this world that we live in. That's all of our job together, right? That's one of the trickiest things about these past few years has been that it was just the family's job. And that's not how it's supposed to be, and it's not how it needs to be, and it is not how it will be, right? Now, again, it can be all of our job. So I will tell you that our children will be coming up here momentarily. They're going to come in, they're going to come hang out over here. We have not shared this space together in quite a while, as I know you know. So they're going to come in, it's going to be noisy, I'm telling you now. They're going to come in, it's going to be loud, it's going to be chaos. That's just how it's going to go. And we're going to be excited to have them in this space. We're going to be excited to celebrate the teachers and the volunteers who are committing themselves to doing that work of raising the children of this congregation. We're also going to remind ourselves that it's our work too. I want to share with you that one of the things that's happening in religious education this year, and actually happened all through last year, is what we call our family service. So once a month, instead of religious education downstairs, our children and their families come to this space and we do a family service, and then we have a potluck afterwards. I know some of you were at this last one. We had 36 children and grown-ups at our last family service. And I share that because our programs have been so siloed, and I want you, the folks who are up here usually, to understand that we have a vibrant, excited, committed group of families and their children at this congregation. And the focus of this year's set of, actually the first 5 or 6, family services started last week, the mental health of children and youth, and giving children and their families tools to help work on how to be in this world we share as this pandemic eases. That's how I'm going to say it this morning, as it eases. We will send out the resource that we're using for those to all of you because it's useful for everyone to know. And then I hope that you will just embrace this idea that it is also your work to help raise the children of this congregation. We will have more multi-generational services than we did last year. The children will be present more than they were, and we're going to readjust ourselves to that. Okay. They will be, you're all like, I know what you're saying. I know you're saying that sometimes some of us were grumpy about children being in the sanctuary. We're not going to be grumpy about it. We're going to embrace it and all of the chaos it brings. Yes, indeed. So they're going to be on their way up. While they're making their way up, can we do a little bit more of Now Let Us Sing? And we'll do that now to bring them in, and then we'll do our little bit with them when they get here. Okay. You know how hard it is to mobilize children. So we're going to rise in body or spirit. We're going to sing the last 3 verses of Now Let Us Sing. So it's going to go love, joy, and faith. And hopefully as we're singing this rousing song, they're going to come in, and then we're going to do a couple of things all together, and then we're going to have coffee hour. Okay. Now let us sing, 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 now let us sing, sing, lift up your voice, be not afraid, sing to the power of the love within, now let us sing, lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the joy within, now let us sing. Sing, now let us sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the faith within, now let's do. What can we add in? Sing to the power of the child within? Can we do that? We're just going to make stuff up until they get up here. All right, we're just gonna make it up till they come. Let's do it.
I will play it through once.
Oh wait, play what through once? Oh, we're doing a totally new hymn. We're doing a totally new hymn. What is this? We don't have the words for it. Ron, we don't have the words for this one.
Yeah, we do. Oh.
No, we don't. We took them out because we weren't doing it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we have hymn notes. Great. Children. I feel like I'm at home trying to get them to go to bed. Like, just do the thing. Maybe go check and see what's happening. Are they coming? Do you? Is this them? Are they ready? I see Martin. That means they're here. Fantastic. We're not gonna. Because they're here. So you can sit back down. We're just rolling with it. We're rolling with it. Children, you can stay right here in this area and take a seat on the floor. Come take a seat on the floor right over there. That's perfect. Oh, we are going to skip it. Okay. Come right in, children and teachers. Come take a seat on the floor. Please come take a seat on the floor. It is really good. Children. It is really good to have the children back in this shared space of welcome and joy and laughter and adaptability and song. Children, I'm going to ask you to take a seat right there and put on your listening ears as best you can. We have just a couple of things to share. The first thing we want to do, though, please have a seat. The first thing we want to do is to acknowledge the important work that our religious education volunteers are doing this year. Vital work, yes, raise your hand if you're a teacher. On Zoom, wave your hand if you're a teacher. We are so grateful for all of the ways that you are helping to raise the children of this congregation. During coffee hour, there will be a special treat to celebrate the teachers and the children and the kickoff of the year of religious education.